Welcome to the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. Get ready to be inspired, uplifted, and connected to the miraculous energy of unconditional love that I call Mother Mary. If you're a highly sensitive, highly creative entrepreneur or light worker, and you want to magnify your impact and your intuition, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Reverend Frances Faden, interfaith minister, intuitive coach, and author of Meditation is Friendship with God. I can't wait to share miraculous stories, books, meditations, messages, and interviews with other miraculous light workers just like you. Are you ready to magnify your miracles? What are we waiting for? Let's get started. Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden, and I'm so grateful to get to spend this time with you. Today, we're going to be talking about a really special book, and if you're a fan of sacred stories and you love knowing about the saints, you're going to love this book. But before we get into that, let's start the way I like to always start, which is taking a few deep breaths together, just getting ourselves grounded, getting ourselves centered, getting ready to receive this inspiration. If you are driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but you can still bring your awareness to your breath. And as we become more aware of our breathing, we let our body begin to relax. We let our mind start to settle down. And we create a space within ourselves to really receive this beautiful sacred inspiration meant to inspire you, meant to uplift you, and to support you as the light worker that you are. So knowing that whatever you're meant to hear today, whatever inspiration will move you forward and help you magnify your miracles, we're going to take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. All right, my friend, welcome once again, and I am just so excited. This book is Daughters of the Goddess, the Women Saints of India, and the author is Linda Johnsen. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that this book is from a little while ago. I think it was published in 1994, so it's definitely not a recent book, but it highlights the lives of 6 women saints of India, and 4 of them are still here on the planet. So 2 of them have crossed over. One of them was probably crossed over at the writing of the book, but 4 of them are still around, and you could actually go to their websites and get on their mailing list and watch them on YouTube and be in the presence of these amazing women saints. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I came across this book, and then I'm going to read a little bit about it for you. So before the pandemic, before all that, my wife and I went up to the Himalayan Institute here in Pennsylvania, which was, I think it was founded by Swami Rama. And they have a beautiful, lovely bookstore, and most of the books that are there are the books of Swami Rama. But I saw this little tiny book, this little book with a red cover, very, very thin book. I was like, what is this? Daughters of the Goddess, what is that? It's right up my alley. And I took it out, and there's a beautiful picture of Sri Ma when she was a young woman on the cover. And I was like, oh, I have to have this book. It has some of my favorite saints like Anandamayi Ma in there. And I devoured this book. I took it and I was just like, oh my God, this book is amazing. So let me tell you the 6 saints that she's talking about here, but she also talks about, and I'll read it to you in just a second, the energy of the role of women saints in India and how it's a little bit different than some of their male counterparts. So we have Sri Ma, and Sri Ma is actually believed to be a reincarnation of Sarada Devi, who was the wife of Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna, who was a powerful self-realized master in the 1800s in India. I think he was in Bengal. I believe he lived in Calcutta. And so Sri Ma is believed to be an reincarnation of Sarada Devi. And you can go to her website, shrema.org, and that's SHREEMA I'll put that in the show notes for you. And you can watch her do her daily puja. You can listen to lectures that they do and things that they're doing to try to help people awaken and understand the Divine Mother. So she is a devotee of the Divine Mother. She's an incarnation of the Divine Mother, and you can connect with her still today. And then the next one is Anandamoy Ma, the bliss-permeated mother. And if you read Autobiography of a Yogi, you'll know that there is a chapter called The Bliss-Permeated Mother that is about Anandamoy Ma. I believe she left her body in 1982, but I love Anandamoy Ma. And again, there are many, many things on YouTube. You can just do a Google search or a YouTube search rather on Anandamoy Ma, and you will see these amazing videos of her. So radiant, so full of light. And Anandamoy Ma just makes your heart melt every time she looks at the camera. She is amazing. And again, you can read more about her in the Autobiography of a Yogi. And then the third one is a beautiful woman named Anandi Ma. Anandi Ma is from the Kundalini yoga lineage, and her ashram is in Northern California. Now, she is the second guru, I believe, in that lineage. I can't remember the name of her teacher, but he passed on the lineage to her, and she actually initiates people in something called Shaktipat, which gives you a huge jolt of energy and can awaken your Kundalini and helps you to be awakened. If not in this lifetime, then very, very soon afterwards. And Anandi Ma is the energy. I got to meet her a couple of years ago. So right after I got this book, I started following some of these great saints that are still in their bodies. And Anandi Ma, actually, she's in California, but she came out to New Jersey, was about an hour from where I am in Pennsylvania. And I got to meet her in person. Oh my God, so lovely. She is the essence of kindness and compassion. She is just amazing, completely amazing. And so I highly recommend, if you have not connected with somebody, that you connect with her energy. She's such a beautiful, graceful energy. And her organization, the Dhyan Yogi Centers, have a wealth of information and things that are available to help you. And then we have Guru Mai. Guru Mai, who is the lineage holder for the Siddha Yoga Foundation. Guru Mai, her ashram, I believe, is in upstate New York as well as in India, and a very, very, very powerful energy. You can read about her in this beautiful book. And then there's a woman named Ma Yoga Shakti, and she, I don't think, is still in her body anymore. I believe she has crossed over. And then the final one is Amaji. Amaji, which you probably are familiar with Amaji. She's known as the Hugging Saint, and her story is in here as well. So those are the 6 beautiful saints. But I want to read to you a little bit about this beautiful author and her experience of doing the work on this book. So this is the very beginning of the book, Daughters of the Goddess, and here's how it begins. Page 1. India has produced more saints per capita than any other culture in history, it seems. I mentioned to the Pandit between bites of chapati. There are hundreds of them, from Buddha to Mahatma Gandhi, Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi, Paramahansa Yogananda. Why aren't there any women saints? Pandit Rajmani looks up in surprise. We are having dinner Indian style, seated cross-legged around a white tablecloth neatly spread over the living room floor. There are thousands of lady saints in India. You think because there are no books about them, they do not exist. The Pandit's wife is watching us from the kitchen door, ready to descend with ladles full of curry, should any empty space appear on our thin stainless steel plates. Following Indian custom, she will not eat until her guests are finished. I want to respect the norms of our culture, but frankly, this makes me extremely uncomfortable. If you go into the Himalayas, you will find many Bhairavis, female yogis who live in the caves and the forests, but most of the women saints remain with their families, purifying themselves by serving others. Every morning before their family awakens, they sit before the altars in their home worshiping and praying. They don't care for name and fame. Even the people in the next village do not know who they are. In your country, you believe that no one can be a saint unless they give seminars. He continues, you have heard of Agastya? I nod, recognizing the name of the legendary Brahmarishi, a God-realized seer. He was a great sage, one of the greatest that has ever lived, and yet he felt that his realization was incomplete. He wanted to be initiated into Sri Vidya, the supreme secret knowledge of the goddess. He had heard there was a master in this tradition in a province far away, and one day he set out to find him. In those days, traveling was done by foot, so it took many months to reach this man. But when he reached there, the master told him, "Sorry, I cannot initiate you. Actually, you are already more advanced than I am. The only one qualified to teach you is my own guru, the founder of this lineage." Agastya became very excited. "Where can I find this great guru?" he asked. The master told him the name of the province where his guru lived. Agastya was shocked, "But that's my province," he said. It made him ashamed to learn that such a great teacher was living nearby, and he had never noticed. He had thousands of students himself. It never occurred to him that a teacher greater than himself might live in the same region. Then the master told him the name of the village where his guru lived. "But that's my village," Agastya said. He was even more embarrassed. And then the master described the house where his guru lived. "But that's my house," Agastya said. Agastya was a short man, but now he felt 2 inches tall. Finally, the master told him the name of his guru, the fully realized Supreme Master Lopamudra. "But that's my wife," he cried. Rajmani laughs and winks at Mira, his wife, still standing in the doorway with her pot of curry. Her eyes twinkle. This tale sheds light on one of my favorite accounts from the ancient Hindu scriptures called the Vedas. "Sir, do you remember the story where Agastya is busy with his ascetic practices and Lopamudra slides up to him and asks him to make love to her? At first he resists, but she's very persistent, and finally he gives in." I thought the text would end by saying, "And then Agastya lost the fruit of 1,000 years of rigorous penance, like many of the yogic scriptures say when anyone slips up and has sex." But the text ends, "Agastya became an even mightier sage, for he nourished both the paths of renunciation and of the secular life." Yes, at first Agastya believed that self-mortification was the only way to realize God. Lopamudra showed him that worldly life, when it is imbued with divine awareness, can also lead one to God. It was not a seduction, but an initiation. Lopamudra was a master of Sri Vidya. She knew the goddess. But I say, women like her were rare. Rajmani smiles at me. Not at all. You know that in the Hindu religion we say that all beings are divine. At heart we are all one with God. Yes, Panditji, that's one of the things that attracted me to India. But did you know that the first person to declare this unity was a woman? There's a passage called the Devi Sukta in our most ancient scripture, the Rig Veda. Realizing that she was one with the cosmic mother, the seer Ambrini sang, and Rajmini begins to chant in Vedic. It's one of the most famous chants of the Vedas. In the rapture of her meditation, Ambrini had discovered the mother of the universe at the core of her own being. I love that because we are not raised at all here in the West, especially as women, that the goddess lives inside of us and that we are divine. We only hear masculine descriptions of the divine. It's very hard to connect with this. And then at the bottom of page 3, it says, "The Pandit's wife serves us up fried dough balls soaked in sugar syrup. I take the opportunity to ask her, 'Mira, did you hear about women saints when you were growing up?' When I was a girl, my heroine was Mirabai. I was named after her. She had more problems in her life because she was more devoted to God than to her husband. But today, there is no village in India where her songs are not sung." India's women saints are the crown jewels in her tiara. They are the daughters of the goddess. You should learn more about them. There are a great many women saints in India even today. Perhaps you should do a book. And that's where she got her inspiration to do this book. I want to share with you a little bit more in here. On page number 21, Contemporary Hindu Women Saints. There are many great women saints in India, Pandit Ranjmani assured me, but who are they? What do they teach and how do they live? Looking for answers, I set out to meet some of the great Indian women masters of our own day, leaders who form the crest of a new wave of spiritual energy that is flooding not only the East, but parched continents of the Western world as well. Indian women have actually always been the backbone of Hindu religious life. Unlike most Western faiths, which are celebrated communally once each week, Hinduism is usually practiced daily in the home. Morning and evening worship before the family altar is often conducted by the women of the house, and the numerous legends that illustrate Hinduism's highest principles have been passed in some cases for thousands of years, primarily from mother to child. And then on page 22, it says that in the past century, some of India's foremost spiritual giants have acted to redress a seeming gender imbalance in their tradition, even when it has meant coaxing reluctant female disciples into the limelight. One after another, major Indian teachers have passed their spiritual mantle to women disciples. And so he goes on to say, Ramakrishna, who I talked about earlier, passed his spiritual authority to his wife, Sarada Devi. Paramahansa Yogananda, who carried the Kriya Yoga lineage to the West, to the American-born Dayamata. Shivananda, to the Canadian Shivananda Radha. Swami Paramananda, to his niece Gayatri Devi. And then, of course, Dhyan Yogi, to Anandi Ma, and Swami Muktananda, to Guru Mai. And then there's Papa Ram Das, one of the most homey of the popular Indian saints, shared his mission with the spiritual consort Krishna Bai. Sri Aurobindo, the influential philosopher and saint, deferred to the French woman Mira, whom he called the Mother, and who administered Auroville, the community he founded in India after his passing. So this book is really inspirational, in my opinion, for women. And if you are a man listening to this, I hope you give yourself the opportunity to be in the energy of these great women saints. The last thing I'm going to share with you is from the final chapter where she's talking about incarnating the feminine divine. And on page 120, actually the bottom of page 119, how can one tell if one is in the presence of a true saint? The real saint understands that the devotees making obeisance before her are in fact offering homage to the cosmic matrix. In the past several decades, we in the West have beheld the sad spectacle of spiritual teachers who appropriated that reverence for themselves. In India, it's more difficult to articulate, but the egotistical speakers to set themselves up as gurus. With thousands of years of experience, Indians can tell when it is the mother's radiance shining through a human frame, and when it is the clever shape-shifting demon of self-aggrandizement. How can it be that we Westerners, with all our worldly wisdom, have lost the ability to distinguish a snake from a snake oil peddler? I wonder if it was when we lost the goddess, when we started telling ourselves that we are basically sinful rather than essentially divine, when we accepted that God embodied himself on the earth only once, rather than that the goddess is incarnating here continuously, in every age, in every culture, when we lost the sense that to look into the face of God, we need no look further than the person sitting next to us. We gave away our spiritual authority, handing the key to heaven to an enclave of priests who seemed to have misplaced it. Now we are locked out of our own divine being, and any rascal who comes along insisting he can give us back, who can get us back, looks good to us. The women saints I have been privileged to meet are in a very real sense the antithesis of the religious preachers of the West. They don't tell us what to believe, but show us how to live. Rather than condemning those whose mores differ from theirs, they serve them. Rather than insisting that one particular party has exclusive claim to saving knowledge while everyone else is eternally condemned, they quietly suggest that a divine light shines in every heart. We have only to remove the bushel basket covering the flame. Today's televangelist looks suspiciously like the Mahishas to me, but my vision is biased now, having sat with teachers who did not let ego or doctrine become between them and their fellow souls. It says, for centuries, and this is page 121, for centuries the wisdom of India's women of spirit was South Asia's best-kept secret. Today, Nirmala Devi initiates the British Sahaja Yogi, while Mira Ma bathes all in Germany in the radiance of her light and presence. And Amaji introduces Stockholm to the purest of Tantra, while Guru Mai opens a new meditation center near Melbourne. Today in the West, we talk of the goddess returning. If India's divine mothers are any indication, she is bringing her daughters with her in full force. Like a purifying tide, the sanctity of these women, once reserved for their families, is beginning to envelop the world. So, my friend, I hope that gave you a taste of this beautiful book. The stories of the actual saints are so beautiful, and there's more than I would read the whole book to you if I could, but I really want you to get the book and make it your own and start connecting with these powerful saints while they are still in their body. It is such a blessing to get to be near a saint while they're still in their body. And even if you can only do it virtually, you will be blessed abundantly. I promise you. So thank you so much, my friends. I'm so grateful to get to spend this time with you and that we were able to connect today. If you did enjoy this podcast, please let your friends know about it. I would so appreciate it if you could leave a review for me. That would help me out a lot. And as always, remember that the key to magnifying your miracles is to know that your miracle is already here. God bless you, my friends. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you. If you want even more inspiration, feel free to visit my website, francisfaden.com or magnifyyourmiracles.com. And if you did enjoy this episode, I would really appreciate it if you left a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever it is that you connect with awesome podcasts. Remember, the key to magnifying your miracles is remembering that your miracle is already here.